finally, and she is positive for basically a translocation or mutation in a gene called FGFR1, which is fibroblastic factor receptor 1. It's like a signaling molecule that kind of stimulates growth or can stimulate growth under the right circumstances, okay?
This is my friend Debbie. We are going to talk about her journey. She has gone on a big journey. As you can see, she was vibrant, she was healthy, she was strong, she was conquering the world. She came down with a very rare form of leukemia, and we want to put this out there because this is so rare, and I think it's something that everybody should know. Welcome to Angela's Hangout.
Debbie's Recovery Part 2.
Yay!
Check it out, you guys. She made me a hat. Look at this hat. We will have some for sale because that was part of your recovery, right? Was making hats.
Yeah, I made hats in the hospital, and yeah, at my brother's house, all kinds of hats, and I donated them to the homeless shelter, though.
But we're gonna start selling them because she's gained a whole bunch more. So I'll have everything listed in the description box below. We're gonna $5 with $2 shipping in the U.S.
Yes.
So if you want a cute little hat like this, go check it out. All right. So we're at the Cancer Center now.
Stanford. We're just at Stanford, and I've been checked in, and the last test that they did was the bone marrow biopsy, and we're just waiting on those results because that will tell us what is wrong. And Stanford has really good equipment, like a really high-tech microscope that looks even deeper into the cells than like what a regular one does. So that was what we needed to detect what I had. And so anyway, I was there. They had me on a bunch of painkillers, but I was still in pain, just not as bad. Okay, so I'm there and whatever. Still can't really eat. I was getting a little bit of not oatmeal, but some other stuff called
like cream of wheat.
Cream of wheat down, yeah. That was about it. So anyway,
did you still have it in your tube at this time?
No, I didn't have a tube yet.
Oh, okay.
I had it out. And when I got to Stanford, they completely took me off the steroids so they can see exactly what's going on with me, you know, not having anything kind of hold it back. They needed to see everything. So slowly my throat was starting to swell up again and stuff like that, because eventually I stopped eating completely again because it hurt. So then, so on the 12th, I was transferred to Stanford, and then I believe it was the 19th of February, Dr. Hamilton comes in one evening, wakes me up when I finally fall asleep. I got so sick of being woken up when I could finally fall asleep. But he comes in, Debbie, we know what's wrong with you, and we have something to fix it. And I was like, oh, really? What? I thought it was going to be something easy. And he's like, it's blah, 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 blah. That's all I can get. And I'm like trying to write it down. I'm like, you know, I'm not going to remember this for the life of me because I'm so drugged up. And
is this the recording that we have?
Yes.
So we're going to play that recording.
Yeah, so I told him to call my brother, and my brother is so good at recording things. He recorded the conversation of my actual diagnosis, so we're going to be putting it in this video.
Hello? Hey there, this is Mark Hamilton calling from Stanford.
Yeah, this is Ron, Debbie's brother.
Yeah. Hey Ron, it's good to talk to you again. How you doing?
Yeah, thanks for calling. I appreciate it.
Yeah, absolutely. So, we've kind of just been in a holding pattern over the last couple of days, waiting for a bunch of really specialized tests to come back. But today they came back, finally, and she is positive for basically a translocation or mutation in a gene called FGFR1, which is fibroblastic factor receptor 1. It's like a signaling molecule that kind of stimulates growth or can stimulate growth under the right circumstances, okay? And so when we had our hematology conference on Wednesday, this was actually the mutation. They told us to wait and see if it came back because there's a trial here. One of our doctors is a clinical trialist who studies this specific mutation and disease.
Okay.
And we have, instead of giving like cytotoxic chemotherapies, which are a little harsh and dangerous, they have a pill that can treat this type of cancer.
Oh,
or
really?
This type of mutation. Yes, and so they're very aware and very actively involved in this, but kind of in the background. The doctor's name is Dr Gottlieb. He's a specialist in something called myeloproliferative neoplasms, which is what this is. And he runs a trial for a drug called pemigatinib, which is the drug that he's recommending.
Okay.
But, so the actual diagnosis was, like I said, it's very rare leukemia, and what it is, it's a translocation mutation in one of my genes called FGFR1, fibrogastro factor receptor 1. It falls into a very rare form of leukemia called myeloproliferative neoplasms. Sorry, and so that's the type of leukemia I had. And Stanford happened to have the specialist, Dr. Gottlieb, in the hospital that treats that specific kind of leukemia.
Isn't that crazy?
The mutation type. And
he's how many in our country that does that?
Oh, I don't know.
Because there's not very many.
Mm-mm.
It's very rare.
Yeah, he hasn't treated very many people with my type of thing, so that's why he was so excited to put me on that clinical trial to see how that chemo works, which is in the recording. So the chemo that they put me on was pill form, and it specifically focuses on that gene mutation, and that gene mutation is the ulcers in my mouth. So when I heard that, I was thrilled because I'm like, and I remembered, I kept asking him, is it going to get rid of these ulcers? Is it going to get rid of these ulcers? He said, yes, it will. I mean, he seemed 100% positive. So I'm like, yes, when could we get me started? But I had to have other tests done that was part of the trial. And of course, I had to sign a bunch of paperwork. And but I had to follow the requirements of the trial before they can actually start me on the chemo.
So basically, like when you heard leukemia, that kind of went over your head.
It went completely over my head. I didn't
like,
even care.
My mouth is going to be
better.
Yeah.
Yeah. And yeah, because when you're diagnosed with cancer, at least at Stanford, they sent in therapists and stuff, and they're like, so how are you doing with the news, Debbie? I'm like, I just want this pain gone. I'm good. I just want them to get rid of this pain. Well, we can give you medication if you're going through something. I'm like, I'm only in pain. The head is fine. It's the mouth. Yeah, I didn't really care what I had. I just wanted them to get rid of the pain. That's all I cared about.
Most people that hear the C word, they panic.
Yeah, and maybe if I wasn't in the pain I was in and I was able to eat and stuff, I probably would have. I don't know, maybe not. It takes me a while to process things. And then they sent in a spiritual counselor, and I'm a pretty religious person already, so I'm like, I don't need spiritual counseling. I'm perfectly fine. Thank you.
You're like, wait, are these my end days? Why are you here?
Are you guys really gonna heal me? I'm like, thank you, everybody. I'm really fine. Let's just get started on getting rid of this pain. So anyway, again, my throat started swelling because I was off the prednisone, and I stopped eating, and they put me back on the intravenous stuff, and then finally they were, and I had to do the test for the trial to get ready for that, and finally they're like, okay, well, we're going to get ready to send you home, but you have to obviously get some sort of nutrition in. So then that's when they took me in. They put you under at Stanford to have the tube put in. Thank goodness, because at the hospital here in Santa Maria they did not, and it was a nightmare. So they put me under for that, and I had another stomach tube put back in, and they, we had to make sure for a couple days it was working and my body was agreeing with it. And then they had another doctor that was dealing with the medications I needed for my pain, and she basically gave me the medications and the milligrams that they're going to send me home with, and she just wanted to make sure that it worked before they send me home, because they don't want to send me home in any type of pain. And I don't know if any one of you have been at Stanford, but let me tell you, they are really into making sure you are not in any pain there. It was wonderful. So anyway, so we got everything all under control, and February 28th, I was finally released. And I thought I was just going to be staying at my brother's house for a week, and then I could come back home and kind of take care of myself and do all the appointments here. Well, after a couple days of being there, I was like, yeah, there's no way I could go back home. I was so weak and just, there was no way. And I wanted to stay at Stanford and be treated there, because they like know what they're doing, and they diagnosed me. And I had to see the Dr. Gottlieb anyway. He was the clinical trial doctor. So I only needed one more test to for the clinical trial, and that was an eye exam at an ophthalmologist. And I had to have that done before I actually start the trial. And so they scheduled it for March 1st, the next day at like 9 in the morning. And, you know, I was super tired because you don't rest in the hospital, and I have all this going on, you know, and I'm in pain. So,
They're not joking when they say 24-hour care, huh?
no kidding. So we go to the ophthalmologist, and the reason why I needed to go there, they want to test your eyes, because they tested me throughout that chemo treatment. I think it was like every 8 weeks or something, because they want to make sure, because it's a clinical trial, they want to see if that chemo affected my eyesight or anything else in my eyes at all, which it didn't. But it's just, you know, they have to check everything, yeah, so they can tell when the chemo goes out on the market and it's FDA approved, you know, on the commercials. Side effects are
yeah.
blah, 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 blah.
Make
Clinical
us.
trial, this did not happen, but, you know, that's what it is.
Oh, I see.
Cool, huh? So
You're one of those experiments.
I'm one of those, yeah, that's exactly what I was. I was an experiment. And I was a good one too, because it worked. Anyway, so I get there and I'm feeling sick. I'm in the waiting room and I'm feeling sick. I feel like I'm gonna throw up. I start getting dizzy, hot, and I was like, maybe I just need to go to the bathroom. And I go up to the reception area and I'm like, can you tell me where your bathroom? And I completely passed out. All I remember was I woke up to one of the patients trying to wake me up, and then they had nurses there and they came in, and it was this big thing. Long story short, I did not do the appointment that day. And all I thought was they were going to send me back to the hospital, and I'm like, I don't need to go back to the hospital. I need to go home. I need to eat. I need to, or feed, whatever. I need to take my pain medications. But they didn't send me back to the hospital. They sent me home. My sister-in-law came and got me, and off I went. And I slept for the rest of the day. I was tired from the hospital. Anyway, so they
Really, you've
rescheduled.
already been through a lot.
I know, so
We're
they-
only in February, right?
No, this is March 1st,
Okay.
the day after I was discharged. So then they rescheduled my appointment for, I don't know, a few days, I think on that Friday, because I'm like, I gotta be seen this week because of the clinical trial. So I went back, and yeah, I was a little nervous, but I got through it. No passing out, no nothing. So then that next week is when the clinical trial started, and that was going to be an all-day appointment, because and I didn't know what to expect. You know, I've never gone through this before, and I was very nervous that morning and so I was staying at my brother's house, and my sister-in-law was my caretaker, and she was a great one. And anyway, so I was like having diarrhea that morning. I was sweating really bad. I was a mess before going in. She's like, are you okay? Like, no. So, oh, I need to back up. I'm so sorry. So I had the appointment with Dr. Gottlieb before I actually started the clinical trial, and he laid it all out on exactly what I had, how this chemo was going to work, how I was going to take it, the appointments I was going to have. And it was very overwhelming, because people out here who have had cancer, as you know, you go to the infusion center constantly, and you know, and I'm all new to this. I never had to go to the doctors really for anything.
Well, if you saw the previous one, how fit, healthy, and everything.
Yeah,
such an active woman. Her diet was ridiculous. I mean, we joke about it all the time. So
Yeah, I love chocolate. That was my downfall.
you controlled yourself though. Like my desk was right behind her, and I had like candies and chips and all this stuff, and she's over there eating blueberries or grapes or a banana, and I'm like, how? I never understood that one.
Yeah. So anyway, so I had that visit, and then he said that the chemo will probably start helping my mouth. It'll probably take like 3 to 4 weeks. And I'm like, oh, 3 to 4 weeks of pain. Oh, great. But what can I do? At least I was going to be taking something.
Light at the end of the tunnel, yeah.
So, and also to help with my mouth, I had this wonderful lidocaine. This was constantly being swished in my mouth, like every few minutes I'd swish it. I always carried a cup with me and spit it out. It was the only thing that made me function when I was awake, because I slept a lot from all the painkillers and stuff. When I woke up, it took me like 20 minutes to...
Is that the one that's like the mouthwash?
Yeah, except it's better. Lidocaine like numbs you, even though I couldn't feel it. But anyway, it helped for a few minutes. And like when I'd wake up from a sleep, that's when your mouth hurts the most. And it took me like 20 minutes just to be able to get up and actually function again. It was swishing, spitting, swish. It was so much work. So anyway, so then we're at Dr. Gottlieb's thing, and then he says, so once you go into remission, you know, however long that'll take, your cure will be a bone marrow transplant. And I was like, oh shoot, this is for real.
No, this is getting serious.
So now this is hitting me, and so then my sister-in-law and I are driving home, and I just cried my eyes out. I can't believe I have this. I just can't believe I have cancer. I can't believe I need a transplant. I mean, everything hit me, and I was so upset.
So how many days was it? Because he said that he told you you had leukemia. How many days did it take you before it actually sunk in that you, when he mentioned bone marrow transplant, that's
That
when it sunk
day
in?
with Dr. Gottlieb.
So, you found out everything all in the same day?
It hit me all that same day. When he laid it all out on the chemo, all the visits to the transfusion center, and then the transplant. That's when everything hit me that I had it.
Yeah.
Before that, I was just sleeping, taking my painkillers, just thinking, oh my gosh, I just want this to go away.
I mean, from your first diagnosis, it wasn't all in one single day, though, right?
Yeah.
He told you everything all in one day?
Basically, yeah.
Oh, okay.
I don't think he mentioned the transplant, but he just talked about the chemo and
Because
how...
I remember you telling me, like, you're like, I have leukemia, and I was like, are you okay? And you're like, yeah, I'm fine, and my mouth hurts. And, I'm like, that's a huge thing. And
Yeah.
I was really tripping out that you were...
Yeah, it didn't hit me then. When I met with Dr. Gottlieb, it hit me.
That, okay.
That's
what I was asking. Was,
yeah.
Like, how long it, like, actually, like, how many days before it actually, like, sunk in?
That visit with Dr. Gottlieb,
Yeah.
it hit me. I cried almost all the way back home. Yeah. I feel like crying now thinking about it. But I got through all of it. I'm like done. Anyway, so, okay, so then that happened. Then we start the first day of the clinical trial, like a week later, I think. And so we're in March. It's like March 9th, I think, when I started. And so we go in, and they just basically, before they even give me the chemo, remember it's pill form, before they even start that, they do labs, of course, you know, that had to fill like 12 vials. And I had a PICC line, and so that makes it better, you know. And then they do an EKG and your vitals, and then they like have you. I believe they had me rest for an hour, and then they like repeat it, and then like 2 hours later they repeat it, and then they gave me the chemo. And then I had to wait like another hour, and they repeat it, and then like a couple more hours, and they repeat it just to see if
So they're testing you like crazy while you get the chemo.
Yeah. So this was all part of the trial, you know, just to get all the information down. And then after all that, you know, we got there like at 9 in the morning, and it's like almost 4. And luckily my wonderful sister-in-law brought some of my feeding so we could do that. And then when they took the last labs, they're like, yeah, your hemoglobin's pretty low now. I'm like, yeah, you've taken blood out of me all day.
You're like, you vampires.
So they're like, you need to go to the infusion center across the street, and we need to get you in right now because they have like a cutoff time, because it takes like 2 to 3 hours to receive blood. I mean, you know, put it in you, it takes a long time. So they put me in a wheelchair and hauled me over to the infusion center, and I had to have 2 pints of blood. I was really low. But after I had that, man, I had so much more energy, and so I got home, I think like at 8:30, almost 9 that night. I mean, I was there literally all day. It was a long day.
Yeah. That's like a 12-hour day.
Yeah, I know. So anyway, so then after that, so I'm taking this chemo. It was once a day, 3 pills, and I think the second or third day, I woke up and my sister-in-law was like, you know, good morning, Debbie, and usually I'm like, oh. And I remember when I woke up, I didn't need to really swish. I did, but I didn't have to sit there for 20 minutes and put myself together, and I wasn't in so much pain. And I went out there and she said, good morning, and I'm like, good morning, Brenda. And she was like, oh my gosh, you're talking, and like my voice started sounding like me again, because my voice didn't sound like me at all. And I was like, yeah, I'm feeling a little bit better. So we fed me, gave me
And this is like after
two days of chemo.
the chemo pills?
Yeah.
And you had to take those how many times a day?
Just once a day.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, 3 of them once a day. I know. So so then we went to the bird sanctuary, and we walked around a little, and it was like a miracle, because like I could only walk for like 5 minutes, because you know they say keep walking, just walk for a minute, just keep your body moving, you know. So that's what I did.
You had a cane at this point, right?
Yeah, I was using a cane. Yeah, because I didn't have a lot of strength. And so we went to the bird sanctuary, walked around a little, and then on the way home, I was like, I really want to try some frozen yogurt. Like, it sounds so good right now. My brother's like, really? Yes. So we go to the yogurt shop, and I didn't know if I was going to be able to swallow it or not. I was feeling a lot better, and I just got a little bit, and I don't think frozen yogurt has ever tasted so good in my life. I'm like, oh my gosh, this is so good. I wanted to cry, and they're like, you can eat it? Yes! Yes, it tastes so good. I mean, I haven't eaten in so long, and it was cold, you know, and that felt good in my throat. So it was like, we couldn't believe the chemo was already working, because, you know, the doctor said 3 to 4 weeks, but he didn't really know, because he hasn't really treated anyone with my exact type of case. So, you know, we had an appointment with him, you know, every week. So we were like, my gosh, I wonder how I'm going to be by that appointment, you know. I mean, this was only day 2 or 3, whatever it was. So as the days went on, it just kept improving. I was dying for a bowl of Rice Krispies, and that next day I had a bowl of Rice Krispies. My sister-in-law made me some scrambled eggs, and I'm like, oh my gosh!
You're like, I'm eating.
I know, but we still use my feeding too, because, you know, I didn't want to stuff my face. And my wonderful lidocaine, I was completely off of, which was nice, because you get tired of seeing me carrying the bottle and a cup. Swish, swish. Even while we were on our little walks, I had to have that with me. It was so irritating. Anyway, so
note to self, invest stock for...
I know, seriously. So then we go to Dr. Gottlieb a week later, and it was like, wow. I mean, he couldn't believe the improvement. And, you know, and I was talking to him, and I was laughing, and I didn't have my lidocaine. And so, but, you know, I was going to the infusion center, which is the cancer center, 3 times a week. And, you know, they take labs every time. And I did need to have a couple more blood transfusions. And then after those couple more, I didn't need any more. And my platelet counts were building back up again, so I didn't need that. And things just like turned around, and every week it just got better and better. The side effects of that chemo, because it's a clinical trial, they said that it would be easier on your body and not so toxic as regular chemo. And since I've had both, boy, can I testify to that. It's very easy on your body. The only side effects I had was, you know, some fatigue, more in the beginning than towards the end. And at first I had a little bout of diarrhea, but we got that under control. And once in a while I'd get nauseous, but you know, wonderful Stanford gave me like all of this nausea medicine, so I just took that and I was fine. And then finally May 25th, I believe, because I was able to eat. The only thing with the chemo is the chemo I was taking, it makes your phosphorus go up, which is a mineral. And if it went up too high, they'd have to take me off the chemo, and I was scared to death of that. So, and phosphorus is basically in everything. It's in dairy, it's in sugar, it's in everything. So we tried to watch that a little, and we kept it under control. So that's one thing you have to watch out for with this.
So you run a strict diet then?
It wasn't too strict. I just ate
You got to
like
eat frozen
dairy-
yogurt,
dairy-
Rice Krispies.
dairy-free milk, yogurt, you know. Yay. We went strict for a little bit, but I just kind of watched my dairy. And and the other one of the side effects is it affects your toenails. You know, they start falling off, but mine turned black for a while, basically. And then they actually have started falling off in January, the beginning of January, I believe, of this year. I've lost 5 so far. So that's one of the other side effects, but I'll take that over being sick. And
And your fingernails.
this was from the chemo in the hospital.
Oh,
Yeah.
okay, we're not there yet.
No, we're not
Sorry,
there yet.
jumping
That was
ahead.
for my transplant. Yeah, we'll get
We're
there.
getting there.
And then, so in May 25th or 3rd or whatever, since I was able to fully eat, but I couldn't have my tube taken out until 3 months, just so it'll heal properly and everything. So 3 months, at the end of May, we wanted it done before my birthday. My birthday is May 28th. We had that bad boy taken out. And boy, did that hurt. They said, it's going to be like a bee sting.
I remember this.
It was more like 1,000 bees. I almost passed out again. But he took it out and I was like, oh. And they're like, okay, just lay down. We'll let you rest. I'm like, I got to put my feet up. I'm going to pass out again. I mean, my vision went dark again. My hearing was getting muffled again. And it hurts so bad. I'm like, I'm such a wimp after everything I've been through.
She was like, did you forget to numb me or
I know.
something?
Oh
Like,
my
what the
gosh,
heck?
it hurt. I'm like, I never want one of these again. So then, anyway, so then we go home and I pretty much lay down the rest of that night. But I had to heal from that. It took a few weeks for the hole to fully seal. So once it fully sealed, I started going out on my walks in the morning. And like a few weeks after that, when I started getting a lot of my strength back, I was running like 5 miles 4 days a week. And then I was out there strength training and like I felt great. And
She was like, I'm healed.
I know, and we were doing some hard hiking, you know, and I'm like, and I was still taking the chemo. I wasn't off of it because that's what was keeping everything stabilized. And so, but you know, my doctor loved this because I'd have to tell him at my appointments every little thing that I was like doing, how I was feeling for the clinical trial. So he was just really impressed at how well my body responded to this chemo, and I'm forever grateful. And you know, the sores in my mouth were like healing, and Dr. Hamilton, who saw me in the hospital, he happened, because he works with Dr. Gottlieb, he was there and heard I was coming in, and so he came in to see me, and he looked at my mouth and he's like, what did he says, I don't know, I forgot what he said. Basically, he was just like amazed. He couldn't
So
believe.
at this point, like now, you don't have any more.
No, I didn't have any more. It was all.
So it all
healing.
disappeared just from the chemo.
Mm-hmm.
Wow.
Because that was a mutation, and that chemo was specific for that,
Okay.
and it worked. I have scarring, but it was gone.
Have you lost your like taste?
Oh yeah, my taste is yeah, it's very toned down. I can taste things, but definitely not to the fullest. So it's yeah, and certain things I can't taste at all. So I just won't eat it because
I'll
there's
have
no
to bring
point.
you some of my cooking. I'm just kidding.
You're funny. Yeah, that's another one of the side effects from the clinical trial chemo and the chemo I had in the hospital for my transplant is your taste goes, and they say it's like one of the last things to come back. So a lot of times, like right now, it feels like I have a coating on my tongue. It's just part of it. So no, I don't have my taste fully back, but I'm kind of used to it. It's whatever. So anyway, at least I can eat.
You're getting Taco Bell tomorrow.
Oh no. So anyway, yeah, so then so I'm on my merry way, running again, loving my life. I went to Utah to visit my daughter for 16 days. I came back home in July for 2 weeks because my appointments were 3 weeks apart at that time. And so then at my appointment in May, towards the end of May, I had another bone marrow biopsy and special blood tests and everything to see where I was at. And the results came back that I was in remission already. So I started this clinical trial pill in March, and I was already in remission in May. Amazing. So that meant time for me to have a transplant because being in remission is where you want to be before the transplant. But he kept me on the chemo because he said, when he takes me off it, he was pretty certain that the leukemia would come back within months. So he kept me on that, and then in August, so they tested my brothers to see if they were a match, and they were only a 50% match. So they went into the donor pool that they have, and they go through Be the Match. So if you ever want to just be tested, bethematch.com or .org it is, and then if you're a match to somebody, they'll call you. It could take years, it could be right away.
How does one become a donor?
They just do blood tests,
So
and they just keep it to see. So they.
do you fill out like paper or like?
Yeah, if you
and say you want to donate.
if you
can?
contact bethematch.org, it's all through internet. They'll send you a kit,
Oh,
and you just send it back.
so what do you do in this kit?
I don't know. Obviously, you don't take blood. Maybe I'm not
Well,
really
maybe
sure.
like
A swab or something.
Yeah, probably.
But then if you do match somebody and they call you and they ask you, are you still willing to donate? Then they'll bring you into the lab and you do a bunch of blood tests and stuff.
Mm-hmm.
Then they really test you. Yeah. So anyway,
I was just wondering from like
yeah, it's through mail at first, and then if you're a match,
yeah,
from that.
because I would love to be a donor.
Yeah, I wish I could do it. I can't anymore. I can't even give blood anymore. And I used to give blood all the time because I have a rare blood type. Anyway, so
Everything about you was. If you could have the worst of anything.
it's me. So anyway, so in August they find a match, and he's 100% unrelated donor, and my doctor, BMT doctor, bone marrow transplant doctor, said that he is a perfect match. They can't tell me anything about him other than he's 30, and he lives in the U.S., and he's a perfect match. So I was like, cool. And after a year, I can contact bethematch.org and give them my information, and they give him the information, and if he agrees, to be in contact with me, then he can email me or call me, whatever we agree on, and then it'll be up to us if we could
Are you gonna do that?
meet or something. Oh, definitely, yeah,
Okay.
definitely. I'd love to meet him. So anyway, so then they find my donor, and they just need to find out, you know, when he's available to actually donate, because his process is 6 days long, I think. It's not really anything big for them. And then I have to, of course, go through, you know, the PET CT scan again, another bone marrow biopsy, and tons
you were
of
doing a lot
labs.
of tests at this time.
I was testing all the time. Yeah, and an ophthalmologist, and you know, and then at the end of August, Dr. Gottlieb, I was done with the trial, and he took me off the chemo. So I was a couple weeks without chemo, and that's what he told my BMT doctor, Dr. Arai. She needs to get a match right away, because I don't know how long it'll be before that leukemia comes back. So very thankful they did. They found one within a couple months, and in August. So they started looking in June. So then, you know, then when they got all the dates figured out, I went in a few days before my admittance to the hospital, signed a bunch of paperwork, went over a bunch of stuff, side effects.
So we're going to end it right here, because this next segment, part 3, is going to be her bone marrow transplant journey. And it is really, really, really crazy. I mean, she was pretty much blindsided with this one. So, it's pretty crazy. So, anyway, thank you so much for joining us. If you would like to become a donor, I'll have that information linked for you down below in the description box. And if you'd like to purchase one of these cute little hats that she's making, I will definitely leave my information, and then just contact me, and then we'll go from there. $5 with $2 shipping in the US. I think that's a really good deal. And all of the proceeds are going to go to her medical expenses, because I'm sure, as you can imagine, are huge and astronomical. So anything I can do to help her out, I mean, it's just a win-win for her. So anyway, thank you so much for watching, and stay tuned for part 3. I'll see you soon. Bye-bye now.
And we're at the end of August now, and that's where we'll stop it.
Okay. Stay tuned.
Thank you for watching.
Ooh-wee.
I know.